Well, indeed, 2018 saw some major political changes in Africa with the exit of some of the continent's most powerful leaders. CGTN's Robert Nagila sat down with Professor Peter Kagwanja of the Africa Policy Institute for more insights into Africa's political transitions in 2018.
Professor Peter Kagwanja, thank you very much for talking to us. We do appreciate it. So we're looking at past, present and future. So I'm just going to start off with, what are some of the factors that influenced the political landscape in Africa in 2018? In
January, we started off with Kenya. Very confusing situation where we had two presidents. One was a people's president, the other one was an elected president, and it looked like Kenya is really not going to make it in terms of unity and stability. But we had a handshake 2 months later in March. In Ethiopia, by June, we have seen the prime minister of the time literally resigned, and we see Ahmed Abiy coming to power in Ethiopia. That was a positive change. We have seen change between Ethiopia and Eritrea, long-standing conflict. We've seen elections of quite a number of presidents. We've seen replacements of presidents by opposition in countries like Sierra Leone.
Now, in 2018, we witnessed some major political changes in Africa. We saw the exit of some of Africa's political heavyweights. I'm talking about Robert Mugabe, Jacob Zuma of South Africa. We also saw some major changes in Ethiopia with Abiy Ahmed becoming prime minister. What does this herald for the politics in Africa?
In the case of Zimbabwe, the exit of Mugabe was perhaps one of the most difficult. It was a conflict within the government and within the old guards of, the liberation movement. The military brokered that political, deal and managed to secure Mugabe's peaceful retirement. In terms of Ethiopia, the inability of the former Prime Minister Haile Mariam to deal with the opposition in a manner that was going to guarantee the stability of Ethiopia meant that he had to resign. Ahmed Abiy emerged on top of it all. He has moved on to give hope to the region by way of basically entering into a kind of an arrangement with Eritrea that they are going to bury the hatchet and return peace to the region. And we've seen the same being extended to Somalia. South Africa was a very interesting case. Interesting in the sense that we had witnessed the same in 2008 when Julius Malema and others marched to Pretoria and ordered Beki to leave power. Zuma brought the worst out of South Africa. There is hope because the ANC has provided to Africa a model party system where the party can reform itself without the country collapsing into violence.
Professor, in 2018, we witnessed a lot of exchange visits by African leaders to China, Chinese leaders to Africa. My question is, have these visits had any impact on the political leadership in Africa, and how?
The lesson that we are learning from China, that long-term planning requires long-term stability. You cannot plan in 5-year cycles or 4 years of stability, 1 year of instability. That is affecting development. And therefore, countries that have made it, whether it is China or the United States, have done it because there has been years of stability, and the transition of power is useful and is peaceful.
Professor, for my final question, I'm going to put you on the spot. How would you assess the political landscape in Africa in 2019, and what do you believe we should look out for in the coming year?
We'll still continue to see changes taking place on the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia is still experimenting with the opening up, the democratization. Of course, we are seeing very gradual regeneration and revival of Somalia, which is very interesting because Somalia in many ways is a gateway to the East African, given its 3,333 coastline touching the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. Again, it's to watch there to see what is going to happen in 2020, and 2020 will start building in 2019. The defeat of Al-Shabaab, which has been a terror to all the countries in the region, will largely depend on the stability of the government in Mogadishu. The big thing to watch is how the Americans are going to implement their new African policy, which seems to be more concerned about China's presence in Africa than about the Africans. And the other thing is to watch out how President Xi Jinping is going to roll out the Beijing FOCAC declaration and its plan of action. Why? Because if that plan of action is rolled out on the continent, it is going to transform this continent irreversibly and emphatically in a very positive manner. The priorities of that declaration and action plan, the priorities are very, very clear, particularly when it comes to industrialization of the continent.
We've been speaking to Professor Peter Kagwanja, the President and CEO of the Africa Policy Institute. From all of us here at CGTN, a happy and prosperous 2019. Thank you for joining us.